Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of The Planning Pundit with me, Linda Wright, your planning pundit. Now, this, unbelievably, is now episode 11. And today, this is horribly late because I went to MIPIM, the property expo in the south of France. Sounds terribly grand. I came back last week with no voice, having spoken, as one does, because I'm a gobby planning consultant, having spoken for a week solid, 24/7. So I came back with no voice. It has come back. There are lots of people who are saddened by this, but what can I say? So here I am, Planning Pundit, a bit late. We're now on to episode 11. And on this episode, I'm going to be talking about planning fees. This actually came about after speaking to some property developers who shall remain nameless, but they had had a planning application in for what seemed like forever. I don't know the details of it, but it seemed to me like it had been in for years. And it sort of makes my hackles rise when things like that. I'm not in the business of slagging off planning officers, and I don't know the details of this application, but come on, this needs to be a service. And if we're going to develop anything in this country, then the planning service needs to be fit for purpose, and you can't just leave planning applications festering away in a corner and not deal with them. So I was a bit annoyed. So my instant reaction, apart from the fact that my language deteriorated somewhat, I asked if they had asked for a refund of their fees. Blank looks all around. Now, so this is what I want to talk to you about. Now, you do, if you are thinking about doing this, you do need to take some expert advice. You can't deal with this willy-nilly. You do need to think about it quite seriously. However, now generally, you cannot, a lot of people say to me, oh, if I've had my application refused, can I get my money back? No, you can't. The fee is paid to the council for the administering and dealing with the application. So if you get it refused, you don't get a refund. That's not how it works. So, however, I'm not entirely sure it's a good thing, but it's something that is there, and not a lot of people don't know about this. So a refund of planning fees, and I'm sorry, I'm going to be really boring now and talk about the legislation. The Town and Country Planning fees for applications, deemed applications, requests and site visits for England. I only talk about stuff in England. I don't talk about Wales. Welsh Assembly Government has a slightly different system. This is 2012, but it was the regulations were amended in 2013. And the amendment in 2013 is paragraph 9A. And paragraph 9A says, and again, I'm going to read this a bit so that you can look at this for yourselves. You can find it also in the planning guidance online, and I'll tell you what I think it's paragraph 41, and it worries me that I know that off the top of my head, but there we go. So the refund of fees in relation to planning applications that have not been determined within 26 weeks, and you can work that out what that is in months. I'm not going to do that for you. So if your planning application has been with the council from the date of validation, so if you had to submit some additional information, that doesn't count. Whatever the date of validation is on your letter from the council or email from the council, that's the start date, not an appeal start date, but that's the date on which it starts. So the validation date. So 26 weeks from that validation date. If the council have still not determined the application beyond 26 weeks, these regulations offer the applicant the opportunity to request a refund. It's something, it's called the planning guarantee. Quite frankly, it's not much of a guarantee because it doesn't guarantee you a decision, which would be nice. But what it does do, and this is for, I mean, I'm not talking about if you're doing a change of use and it's a few £100, but if you're talking as a volume house builder and you're talking thousands and thousands of pounds in planning fees, and the council are still not dealing with your application, then you have the opportunity to request, if it's after 26 weeks, to request a refund of your fee. And this says any fee paid by an applicant, and I'm sorry, I'm being boring and I'm going to read the regs for you. Any fee paid by an applicant in respect of an application for planning permission or the approval of reserved matters shall be refunded. Now that is unequivocal. It doesn't say might be, could be, discretion of the local planning authority. It says shall be refunded to the applicant in the event that the local planning authority fail, or the Secretary of State fail, to determine the application within 26 weeks of the date when a valid application was received by the local authority. Now, there is a bit of a chink with this, and this is one of the reasons that I want to talk about it. Number one, a lot of people don't know about this. So if your application has been in for more than 26 weeks, you have the right to say, I'll have my money back, please. Now, there's an issue with this, because what happens to your application if you ask for the money back? Well, quite frankly, most local authorities, I mean, every local authority is different. That's the chaos of the planning system in this country. But it's also the delight of the planning system in this country. But then I'm a sick woman and I need to get out more. So there we go. But if you ask for your money back, what then happens to that application? The likelihood is it is now out of time, well out of time, and therefore it is no longer a priority for the local planning authority. So the likelihood is it will be set aside and not much is going to happen. You can imagine most planning officers and councils, you've asked for, I don't know, 20 odd grand back. They're going to throw their teddies out the pram, quite honestly, and go, well, I'm not dealing with that then. We're not getting paid for it. That is a childish attitude, but we can all be a bit venal sometimes, can't we? So the question that begs the question, yes, oh, woohoo, look, we can get our fee back under the planning guarantee and under the fees regs, and as amended in 2013. I mean, they're now 10 years old. And I know that they're talking about doing new fees regs, and that is, a consultation is out at the moment. So what are the issues here that we might need to look at? Again, I do urge you to take expert advice on this. Don't do this willy-nilly. However, the one exception to this is if you as an applicant or you as an agent, an extension of time, a formal extension of time to allow the local planning authority to deal with the application, all bets are off. If you have accepted and agreed to an extension of time, either within the 26-week period or beyond the 26-week period, you cannot ask for a refund, because arguably you are complicit. You are now agreeing with the council that you want them to determine the application, and you have granted them additional amounts of time. Now, how much time? It's usually determined, and it usually says another week, another 2 weeks, or till a specific date. So if you or your agent, and I would always say that any agent worth his salt, and I do this, I don't sort of willy-nilly agree to extension of time. I will contact the applicant and say, are you okay for me to agree to an extension of time? So if you have agreed to an extension of time, all bets are off. You cannot apply for the refund of your planning fee under the terms of the planning guarantee and the fees regs. that is all I have to say about this, really. But you do need to take some kind of advice. A lot of people take legal advice on this. There have been a number of court cases on this. Again, if you've agreed to the extension of time, I'm sorry, but you're out of luck. Hopefully your architect, your agent, your planning agent, whoever is dealing with this for you has asked you. But sometimes the implication of what it might mean if you agree to an extension of time is not necessarily explained. And in fairness, a lot of local planning authorities don't know about this. So, refund of planning fees if your application has gone over 26 weeks. That's all I want to say about that, really. There are all sorts of little nuances, but it's just to get the general idea out there so that people know about this. It's from the date of validation. Please get some advice if this is something that you're going to want to look at. You know, if it's 95 quid, then does it really matter? I don't know. Maybe it does to some. Now, there is an argument about whether you can actually apply to have your fee refunded after a decision has been made because it's gone over the 26 weeks. The jury's still out on that. To be perfectly honest, I'm not sure that that's cricket. If it's been approved, then, you know, just get on with it. If it's been refused, then again, it's kind of trying to close the stable door after the horse has bolted. You might want to try and do this, but I'm not entirely sure it's in the spirit of the fees regs, but then some people might try it. But 26 weeks, non-determination, apply for your fees back if that's what you want to do. Be aware that it may have implications for what then subsequently happens to your planning application. But for example, if you've got land and the land deal has fallen through and you're no longer interested, you've paid the fee, if it goes beyond 26 weeks, do not agree to an extension of time. Just don't. If you do that, all bets are off. You've lost the opportunity under the planning guarantee to ask for your feedback. So, bit of a short one this time. That's me, Linda Wright, Planning Pundit. And if you like this video, if it was interesting, please like, share, subscribe. Doesn't mean you have to pay anything. This is all for free. I'm just putting for 2023, I'm just putting all sorts of bits and bobs of planning that have come up during my week. So thank you for listening. I'm thinking about turning this into a podcast for people who don't necessarily want to look at me, which is understandable. I'm thinking of turning it into a podcast so that people can just listen to it with their earbuds on. If you think that's a good idea, please contact me. Say hello, say no, don't bother, or yes, it's a good idea. And just let me, if you've got any questions, also just let me know. It might be that somebody else has a similar sort of question and I can deal with this on this YouTube video series for 2023. So I'm going to stop now. Thank you very much for listening to me, Linda Wright, the Planning Pundit. I'll end it there and I will see you next time. Thank you very much for listening.